So howdy y'all, my name is Clint Morgan. I'm a career prosecutor, a lifelong conservative, and a candidate for the Court of Criminal Appeals. So what is the Court of Criminal Appeals? In Texas, our judicial system has 3 levels. First, we have the trial courts, and you all seen Law and Order, so you know what happens there. If you don't like what happens to you in the trial court, you can appeal. And we've got 14 local courts of appeals spread around Texas. Y'all's is in Dallas. If you don't like what happens to you at the Court of Appeals, then you can go up the ladder for civil cases to the Supreme Court, for criminal cases to the Court of Criminal Appeals. And so this is basically, we have 2 Supreme Courts in the state. The Supreme Court for criminal cases is the highest court for criminal cases in Texas. I am running for the Court of Criminal Appeals because I believe we are having a crisis of crime in this state. And we need to confront it the way Republicans confronted the last crisis of crime in the 90s, and that is with law and order. So what does that look like for this court? So we like to think of this as a nice Republican state, but in 2018, the Democrats took over all our big city courts of appeals. They took over Dallas and Austin and Houston and San Antonio. And it's not just that these judges were Democrats, but a lot of them are activist Democrats. Right? They're reversing cases that need not be reversed because many of these judges fundamentally disagree with the law and order approach that us Republicans so carefully have enacted in Texas, and that the Court of Criminal Appeals historically has so carefully protected in Texas. And they don't like that. They're a little more, you know, they think maybe a lot of these defendants have gotten it unfair, and so they're wanting to change the law that way. And they are ignoring the law that they need to ignore, that they should. So we need to stop that. We Republicans do. We need our Republican high court to be extra productive and extra vigorous in its application of the law to keep these lower court activists in check and to keep law and order in this state. Because the criminal justice system protects protects people by providing results that are quick and predictable, and that encourages good law and order resolution of cases. When you have activist judges changing the law on appeal, it eliminates the deterrent effect. So how am I going to get this court moving? For 9.5 years, I have been the most productive appellate prosecutor in Harris County, probably the whole state. I've written about 400 briefs. I've had 17 cases at the Court of Criminal Appeals. Before I was a prosecutor, I worked at the Court of Criminal Appeals. And for those 2 years, my judge was the most productive judge at the court. I have seen up close what it takes to be a productive judge. I have proven I have a track record of high productivity with a high workload. I will get this court moving quicker so that we can grant review of more cases and keep the activists in check. Judge Walker, for the last 5 years, has written about 4 opinions per year. I don't think that's a record that deserves re-election. I think when I worked there, my judge wrote 17 one year and 20 the next. I don't think 4 a year is a good record, and I think we need to aspire to something more than that. I believe I'm the only candidate in this race that has multiple endorsements from police organizations. I have Clint, the major statewide police organization. Police want law and order. They want predictable results from the courts so that their cases aren't being tossed out. They know what they're doing. I've got endorsements from, I think, every Tea Party group that has weighed in on this. I just got Eagle Forum today. I've got East Texans for Liberty. I've got True Texas Project. Check my website, clintforjudge.com. I list all my endorsements on there, and there's a lot of them. Now, you may have heard, the Court of Criminal Appeals does not often make the news, but in December, they issued an opinion named Ex parte Stevens. And in Ex parte Stevens, they held that the Attorney General of this state cannot enforce election laws. We have to rely on local DAs to do that. So 8 Republican judges joined that, including Judge Walker. So I live in Sugar Land. I've got 4 kids. My wife is fantastic. She's got a PhD. I don't. She runs a data consulting company. She runs a biotech startup. She runs my website. In her spare time, she homeschools our children. She is just truly beautiful. Wow. So I'm going to conclude here with a little bit. I love Texas. I love the Republican Party. I love our values. I love that the Republican Party is controlling Texas. I want us to stay in control of Texas for a long time. I want my 4 little kids to vote for a Republican Party that controls Texas. But if we're going to do that, we have to keep our own house clean. We have to vet our incumbents. We have to run the best candidates every time. We cannot settle for anything less than excellence from our candidates. That's what I'm here to offer you. hard work and excellence for law and order. My name is Clint Morgan at ClintForJudge.com. We're going to keep the activists in check.
Amen.